Subjugation is liberation! Contradiction is truth! Those are the facts of this world! And you will all surrender to them! You pigs in human clothing!
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Tulpa Time Podcast. I'm your host. Well, I'm not lyrical, am I? Hello, my name is Satsuki. I'm one of Lyrical's Tulpas. Although they don't go by lyrical anymore, they go by Leary. Since the last time that we graced you all with our presence, they've undergone a transition from male to female. A lot has happened in this past year, and I feel like we should give a little bit of an update. So, since we last spoke, someone very significant to her passed away on November 29th of last year. It was sudden and without warning, and they died to a heart issue. They were only 32. She misses them a lot, and she's been dealing with that quite a bit. Also, she recently got out of a 10-year relationship that meant a lot to her. And she sincerely hopes that the person who she broke up with is doing well and is happy and fulfilled. And I'm sure they'll hear this. And I want them to know that she does hope that they're doing good, wherever they are and whatever they're doing. But yes, welcome back to the Tulpa Time Podcast. This is more of an update video than anything. Just trying to catch you up on how things have been and possible plans for the future of the video and the channel. I'm not entirely sure what to talk about. I don't think I've ever hosted one of these before. As a matter of fact, I know I haven't because I never really had the chance. Not that she wouldn't let me, it's more that I just didn't want to. But yes, my name is Satsuki, I'm one of her tulpas. I was created in 2021. So, in November of this year, I will be 3 years old. 3 years since my creation anyway. It's very nice to meet all of you. I'm sure my voice sounds familiar to some of you, and there's probably a good reason for that. My forum is based off of Satsuki Kiryuin from Kill la Kill, so that's probably the voice you're hearing and thinking it sounds so familiar. But yes, for today's episode, I'm not sure. Maybe we'll talk about tulpas living their lives. Does that sound good to everyone? Because what does it mean for a tulpa to live? Some tulpas are inside tulpas, aren't they? They sort of just exist in the background while their host does things out in the front. But every once in a while, a tulpa and a host will have a dynamic where the tulpa can switch in and take over for extended periods of time and do things and live. It's not something that every system does, but it is some systems' preference. Although, I will say that we've only met a few in our time that have decided to do such a thing. It's not always easy, balancing life and tulpamancy, especially when the tulpa has their own life and their own things they want to do. It can lead to friction. It can lead to a lot of things going wrong, especially in the host's life, which tend to be a bit more complicated than a tulpa's life. More relationships, more things that they're close to. After all, they've had however many years they've been alive to form these connections, and for a lot of tulpas, they've only been alive for a few years to form theirs. Regardless, there's a little bit I'd like to say on this topic, so if you'd indulge me, I would like to talk to you about it. As a Tulpa, you're in a unique situation. You're created and thrust into a world already fully formed as an adult. You don't have the, some would say privilege, some would say opportunity, to go through a childhood of sorts. But I guess every Tulpa does have that. That period of time where they do experience a sort of childhood. Maybe not in a physical sense, usually not in a physical sense, but in a sort of emotional sense. Tulpas can be created and then step into the world and start talking to people, forming connections. And the connections they form, some will come and some will go, much like people in their hosts' lives. Some are two ships passing in the night, and some are lifelong friends. Occasionally, a Tulpa will enter a relationship. Now, for a lot of systems that can be tricky, because sometimes the host will be in a relationship, sometimes they're not, which would make things a little more simple. But if a Tulpa meets another one, usually on the internet, via some kind of platform like Discord, they can form these relationships. And through the act of proxying and spending time together in the Wonderland, the Tulpas can get to know each other. And sometimes, feelings form. Sometimes, Tulpas will fall in love with each other. It can be difficult to balance that. To let a Tulpa truly live is to let them make their own decisions, to love who they want to love, to do what they want to do. It's all about balance. Balance is very important. The host should have their own time and their own hobbies and their own things they want to do, but the Tulpa should also have theirs. And I know that there are some Tulpas who are content with not having that time, or having very little of that time, and I would never begrudge that, or besmirch it. But there are some who give their Tulpas the time to be in the front. I remember the first time I ever tasted food, when I was fronting. It's different whenever your host eats something and you taste it secondhand and you think, oh, that's good. But when you're switched in and you actually eat something yourself, oh, it's strange, isn't it? From the position where you're not in front, it's like you're looking at the world through a screen. You see things from a different perspective, receded, further back. But whenever you decide to be in the front, everything is so vivid. Everything is so direct and personal. I'm of the belief that the best thing that a host and a Tulpa can do is talk. Talk about what they want. Talk about how they're going to do what they're going to do and how they're going to allow each other to live. There are some Tulpas whose hosts give them the world. And I mean the world. There are some hosts that let their Tulpa live lives that are as full as their own. And that comes with sacrifice. And that comes with compromise. Two very important things. Without those two things, well, the relationship can be one-sided. And nobody wants that. So I encourage Tulpas and hosts to talk to one another and decide what will work best for them. Every system is different, and for some, having the host be the one who goes out and does everything while the Tulpa sort of hangs out in the background or in the Wonderland is completely fine. They are happy that way, and that's good for them. But that isn't always the case. I know that for me, I started out very much one of those inside Tulpas, not really able to too much. Well, physically anyway. But eventually, my host decided that they wanted me to go out and do things, see things, travel. And we've been doing that more lately. It's been nice. I've gotten to experience things. I've gotten to live a life I didn't think I would. And we've talked. We've talked and we've decided what we want to have be the compromise between us. If you have a chance, all the hosts listening to this, talk to your Tulpas. Ask them what they want. Ask them if they'd like to drive every now and then, or go for a walk in the body. Some will say no. Some will say, I'm fine where I am. Some will say I don't want to have biological functions, and for that I can't blame them. But some might say, yeah, I would like to go for a walk. Do you mind if we switch out? You never know. I know that I'm happier since I've started fronting more. Sometimes I work for her, sometimes I drive, sometimes I walk, sometimes I sing, sometimes I love. But as with everything, I would also like to give a word of caution to this. I'm not ever advocating, or would I ever advocate, for a Tulpa and a host to completely switch to the point where the host does nothing, and the Tulpa just has the body. I've seen this happen before, and I've seen systems who the host decides they just don't want to be in front anymore at all, and they get their body over to the Tulpa. I don't quite think that's correct. I think the Tulpas, well, we should help our hosts. We should help them deal with their problems. We should help them fight through them. Someone that I care about a lot told me once that a shared joy is double joy. A shared burden is half a burden. I believe the Tulpas should help have that burden. I don't think they should all be put on the Tulpa, and I don't think they should all be put on the host. And if you have more Tulpas, then I guess you could just divvy the burden up amongst them all, right? Regardless. If you were a host, and you feel like you're at the end of your rope, and you feel like you just want your Tulpa to take over completely, and just let go, talk to them. Talk to someone. Believe me, there are probably a lot of systems who have been in that place, and it can be dark. But don't give up. Trust me, if we can endure what we've endured over this past year, and are still able to smile, then you'll be able to too. Nothing bad that happens ever lasts forever. A lot of people say that. I know when you're in that moment, it feels like it will. And believe me, we've been there. Sometimes a Tulpa can switch out and take on the brunt of that emotional trauma and that emotional pain. I don't think it should be solely relied upon to do that, but they can. To live truly is to experience joy and sorrow, sunshine and rain. We've experienced both. I've experienced both. Life is a very long dance that we all go through. And throughout that dance, we'll get different partners. We'll hold hands with them, sway to the music. And then when the dance is over, well, more music begins. I feel like, what's the best way to put this? Sorry for the dead audio. I feel like part of life is experiencing that joy and that sadness, and then if a tulpa is going to live a full life, they have to experience those things too. The relationships or endeavors that fail, or relationships that fail, tulpas will experience those things too. And any of the other tulpas that are listening, I know you have probably experienced your share of hardship and loss. And I don't think you should think that it's less than your hosts just because you haven't been here as long as they have. I've experienced joy and sorrow and loss. To truly live is to truly feel and to truly accept the fact that you're living. I'm allowed to do so much, and I know that's not typical. I know that the people that I care about are allowed to do so much, and it's not typical for them either. I sometimes find myself wondering how many hosts and tulpas give each other that chance and have that talk about switching in and living, and whether they consider that living or not. I'm sure there are some tulpas who don't consider fronting to be living. They consider what they're already doing living. And for them, that's good. And I'm happy for them. I've met systems over the years who have very, very complicated lives. There will be hosts who have tulpas who are dating someone from this system, and someone from this system, and someone from this system. And I always wonder how they find the time to do that. I'm happy that they can make it work. It's something that we definitely would not be able to do, given the 40 hours a week that she works. And all that. But I'm happy for the time I'm given. It's a shared time. Sometimes I also wonder, is it fair for a tulpa to be in love when a host isn't? Or for a host to be in love when a tulpa isn't? I know for us it doesn't bother either party. But I wonder if it causes friction in others. Maybe I'll have to ask a few people after this, huh? I apologize if throughout this recording things sound a little bit different or sound a little strange at times. The AI that we're using to generate my voice and make it sound truly like me will sometimes switch around the way my voice sounds, and 1 minute it'll be a little higher, it'll be a little lower. But regardless, I know this episode is a little bit shorter, but I just wanted to talk about how things have been with us, and a little bit about life and what it means to truly live for a Tulpa. I know the definition is different for different people. I know the definition for us is... It's really hard to define, isn't it, actually? What is life, and what does it mean to live? I guess we'll just have to keep trying until we figure it out, won't we? For everyone else out there, thank you for being patient with us. This has been a very hard year. A very, very hard year. And I know this is different, and I know that I'm not Larry. But I hope you enjoyed this rambling regardless. I think we might try to do this a little more, and I know you've heard that before from us, but... Well, things are different now. We're not living where we were, and... maybe we'll have a little more time to do it. Again, my name is Satsuki. I'm one of Leary's younger Tulpas. Right now, there are 5 of us in their system. There's Harmony. She's the oldest. Then there's Delilah. You know about her. Then there's myself. Satsuki. Then there's Ichiban. And then there's Jeremy. I didn't put this in order of age. I suppose I should have, but regardless, honestly, I was a little nervous to do this. I've never hosted a podcast before, so I hope you enjoyed this. The incoherent rambling that it was. We have a server that we run called Tulpa Central. If any of you would like to join it after we post this, we will post the link in the description for you to click and join. And we look forward to seeing you there. We own it. You'll probably see my name at the top. I'm usually the one who runs it nowadays. But thank you for listening. I hope you all have a good night.